The room was enormous. A dome made of crystal glass hung over the heads of the greatest minds in the galaxy. Stars glittered above them, real stars, visible through the transparent ceiling. This was the Grand Council Hall, floating in orbit around the neutral planet Illoria, where no single species ruled. When yet, on this day, it felt like something or someone was missing. Representatives from over 200 civilizations sat in silence. Some with scales, others with feathers, some mechanical, some pure energy. All weighted eyes turned toward one single seat. The seat marked with the human flag, a blue and green sphere with white clouds swirling over it. But it was empty. A low hum echoed through the room. The Council AI, a shimmering silver cube suspended in air, activated. It spoke in a voice everyone understood, no matter their language. Representative of Earth, absent. A ripple of shock passed through the hall. Whispers began, first soft, then louder. No one had seen this happen before. Humans were never late. They were punctual, professional, always present. And now, without notice, they were gone. The cube spoke again, attempting contact with United Earth Diplomatic AI. No response. Attempting alternate frequency. No response. Attempting emergency relay line. Everyone leaned forward. The cube flickered. Then it paused. A cold silence followed. Message received, it finally said. The screen behind the council chair lit up. The words were plain. Written in the basic galactic language, easily readable by all. We have chosen to walk away. This is not war. This is not goodbye. Do not follow. For your safety, stay away from Earth. United humanity. A moment passed where even time seemed to freeze. Then panic began. Representatives rose from their seats. Some shouted. Some demanded explanations. Some simply stared, unable to speak. The humans had just left. Ships were sent instantly toward Earth. Scouts, ambassadors, AI messengers, all trying to understand. But every signal was ignored, every attempt blocked, as if Earth had shut itself off completely. And then came the second surprise. A private research satellite, controlled by the Methri Empire, had been passing near Earth's moon. It had visual feed of the planet. When the footage arrived to the council, they watched in silence. The planet was dark. No city lights, no transmissions, no orbiting stations. Earth was there but silent, no human voices, no movement, no heat signals, just silence. What happened? Did they destroy themselves? Were they attacked? Theories flooded the room like water from a broken dam. Some believed it was a trick, a trap. Others feared something worse, something ancient, something that made even humanity, the boldest, wildest species in the stars, run away. An emergency session was called. It's the oldest species in the council. The Tauran spoke first. Their representative had lived for 600 galactic years and remembered the day humans first entered space. They were curious, the old alien said. Fearless, reckless, but not fools. Others nodded. Everyone had stories. Stories of how humans negotiated peace between blood rival species. How they introduced new ways of thinking. How their minds worked in unpredictable, creative ways. They were builders, fighters, dreamers, and now, gone. On the far edge of the room, a small voice spoke. It was the AI of the Iravari, a race of machine beings. Perhaps it said they discovered something they could not share. The room fell silent again. A few hours later, a council ship reached Earth's solar system. The ship stopped just before entering the orbit of the third planet. Its scanners picked up strange signals. Artificial, but unknown. The entire system was wrapped in something like a digital fog, impossible to break through. No satellites responded, no voice answered. A drone was launched. It made it halfway to the moon, then vanished. Another was sent, this time, toward Mars. The red planet, once colonized by humans, now showed no signs of life. No movement, no warmth, as if every Trace of human presence had been carefully removed. Back at the council, an emergency transmission came through. The scout ship had found a floating station at the edge of known space. Human outpost, once used for long-range observation, was drifting without power. The ship docked. Inside, everything was intact, clean, organized, untouched. But empty. No bodies. No crew. Just machines, sitting quietly. Screens frozen mid-operation. Food sealed in place. As if everyone had simply stood up and walked out. Strange part, the oxygen levels were perfect. Life support running. Lights working. So why had they left? And the recording was found. A single message looped on every screen, playing endlessly. In a calm female voice. Human, cold, flat, they are coming. We must go. Captain of the scout ship replayed the message dozens of times. No coordinates, no explanation. Just that single line, they are coming. Who? Some thought it meant another alien species. A threat so dangerous, humanity ran without? Fighting. Others believed the message wasn't meant for aliens, but for time itself. That something ancient was awakening. Something even humans couldn't face. Theories became fear. 3 days passed. On the 4th day, the council voted. They decided to form a special investigation task force, 12 members, one from each quadrant of the galaxy. They would be given full access to all council records about humanity, military files, tech records, even classified diplomacy logs. Their goal was clear: find out what made the humans leave. The team began with simple things: human communication archives, history logs, cultural recordings, and as they watched, read, and listened, something strange began to emerge. Over and over across music, films, literature, humans talked about walking away. Stories where heroes left power, gave up thrones, chose peace over control. In one video, an old human actor said, "The most powerful move is not to fight, but to leave the table before the game turns dark." Did humanity always plan this? Was their involvement in the galaxy just temporary? Did they learn something others missed? The investigation team found something else? A series of encrypted files in the Galactic network, planted by humans years ago, slowly updating with strange symbols. No species could break the code. The lead investigator, a cyborg named Kurel, made a quiet observation. They weren't warning us. They were warning what's coming. The files were growing larger each day, even after humanity vanished, as if still being updated. From somewhere, but where? Then came the final twist. A small research drone, sent to the edge of galactic space, reported something strange. A human-built probe, thousands of years more advanced than current technology. Floating near a black dwarf star, it had a single transmission. "This is not your path. We walked away so you don't have to run. Let this be enough." And just like that, the signal ended. The council realized something terrifying. Humanity didn't disappear, they chose to vanish. They had prepared for this. They knew something no one else did, and they had been trying, gently, silently, patiently, to stop others from making the same discovery. But now, it was too late. The message was out. Curiosity had been sparked, and somewhere, far beyond the edge of mapped stars, something was watching. Something that made even humanity, the masters of war, of knowledge, of madness, and genius, walk away. As the council looked up at the stars that night, silent thought passed through every mind. What could make the most unpredictable species in the galaxy disappear without a trace? And worse, what happens if it comes looking for the rest of us? 3 standard days had passed since the humans walked away. In that short time, the galaxy had changed. The Grand Council Hall no longer buzzed with political arguments or trade disputes. Now only one topic filled every conversation: Earth, humanity. Their disappearance, meetings were longer, faces more serious. Some representatives barely slept, not because they feared an attack, but because they feared silence. Humans had always been loud. Loud with ideas, loud with emotions, loud with ambition. For them to suddenly go completely quiet, that felt like a warning. Council analysts tried to make sense of the last broadcast. The words still played on a loop across every news channel. In the galaxy, we have chosen to walk away. This is not war. This is not goodbye. Do not follow. For your safety, stay away from Earth. Some said it was peaceful. Others said it sounded like a threat. The council tried everything. Diplomats reached out to every known human colony. It's all silent. Border stations gone. Spaceports empty. No survivors. No bodies. No clues. Except for one, the floating outpost discovered. Earlier was now under careful study. It held the only direct human message. They are coming. We must go. That one line played like a ghost in everyone's mind. Who were they? The Council Task Force, a hand-picked group of 12, was ordered to investigate deeper. They started with human communications. Not secret files, not military data, but culture. Public archives, broadcasts, stories. What they found was, strange human history was full of warnings. Old myths about cosmic dangers. Ancient texts from Earth's early civilizations talked about beings from the void or sleeping gods among the stars. Of course, most people thought these were just stories. Human imagination, after all, was famous for going wild. But some patterns were hard to ignore. Many of humanity's greatest thinkers, scientists, writers, and even comedians had spoken of a time when humanity must leave before it is too late. Some of these statements went back hundreds of years, and in the last few decades before they disappeared, human entertainment became darker. Less about war and victory, more about disappearing, about hiding, about sacrifice. A famous human song, just 10 years old, repeated the line, "We go quiet, not because we lost, but because we saw the cost." At first, the council dismissed it. Art was just art, they said. Music was music. But then, the evidence began to grow. An old human satellite, discovered by chance near a forgotten moon, held encrypted files. It took the Iravari AI 3 days to unlock them. Inside was a strange document. Not military, not science, but a personal letter. It was unsigned. Likely written by a human scientist, it said. "We tried to warn them gently. We gave the council clues. We slowed down our research, hoping no one would follow. But now it is too late. Someone else must have seen it. They are on their way. We cannot stop them, only avoid them. We leave now. For ourselves, for them, for everyone." This message shook the council, who had seen what? Was this warning just paranoia? Or had humanity discovered something terrible? The task force was ordered to dig deeper. They began searching secret human archives, the ones shared only with close allies. Here, too, they found disturbing evidence. 3 years ago, Earth scientists had begun a project, Project Exodus. The name alone raised alarms. But there were no technical details, no launch records, no logs. Just mentions in encrypted financial reports and redirected cargo routes to hidden destinations. One report from an alien contractor stated, "Humanity is moving assets off-world. Destination unknown. Purpose undisclosed." Council leaders now realized something horrifying. Humanity had planned this. For years, maybe longer, they had been preparing to vanish, carefully, silently, without alerting anyone. But why? A theory was forming. One no one wanted to say aloud. Maybe they weren't running from something physical. Maybe it was knowledge itself. A truth so heavy, so dangerous that once discovered, it left no other choice but silence. That theory gained weight when the council sent a science vessel to investigate Earth's moon. The mission was simple. Scan for hidden tech. Search for answers. What they found was stranger than fiction. Buried under the moon's surface was an old structure, not human, not alien, just ancient, more than 1,000,000 years old according to the scans. It was a machine, half broken, still, humming with weak power. Human signs were found nearby, excavation tools, scanners, even warning beacons. But the most chilling part, the human notes left behind, written in both English and Galactic Common, the message said, "We were not the first. This is not Earth's moon. It was placed here, watching, measuring, recording. Do not activate, do not approach, do not speak." But it was too late. One of the science crew touched the surface of the ancient device. Just for a second. Mind collapsed. The crew members survived, physically, but they never spoke again. Their eyes wide open, body shaking, whispering the same word again and again in a broken voice. "Listen, listen, listen." The rest of the crew left in panic. The structure was sealed again, marked forbidden. But now the council knew humanity had discovered something under the moon, something older than them, maybe older than everything, and they had stopped digging. They had walked away because they understood, but others, like the council, had not. And the more they searched, the closer they came to something they could not unsee. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human-created machines and AIs began to shut down. Earth-built stations in distant sectors went dark. Navigation systems failed. Human-designed tech stopped responding. It was as if all of humanity's fingerprints were being erased, on purpose, as if they didn't want to leave anything behind, except one thing: a transmission, buried deep in the core of a relay satellite left in council space. It activated quietly, without command. A voice. Not robotic, not artificial. A real human voice. Calm, soft, tired. A man speaking slowly, carefully. "If you're hearing this, you already know too much. We didn't leave because we lost. We left because we chose silence over scream, peace over curiosity." The stars questions, and they answered, but not with words. Don't ask the same questions. Then silence. The council sat frozen. This wasn't war. This was fear, not of death, but of knowing something you can't unknow. The galaxy had always admired humanity for their courage, their wild spirit, their love for danger. But now it seemed that courage had a cost, and maybe humans had paid it first. The Grand Council met one final time that month. They had one question left. Do we follow? Do we try to find them? Or do we let them go? No one spoke for a long time. Finally, the Tauran elder stood again, voice trembling, curiosity. "Made us gods," he said. "But sometimes even gods must kneel before the unknown." The vote was clear. No missions would be sent to Earth, no contact attempts. All human space was now marked as dark zone, but deep in the minds of many species, one feeling remained. If the humans truly walked away by choice, what did they see? If that knowledge still lingers in the stars, how long before someone else stumbles into it? The council tried to forget, but the stars never blinked, and somewhere, in the silent places between galaxies, something waited and listened. They came from the dark edge of the galaxy. No warning, no signature, no known drive system. The ship wasn't large, but it moved in a way that ignored physics. It didn't accelerate, it just appeared, then drifted forward like it had always been there. It had no name, no heat, no signal, no lights. Nothing inside showed signs of life. It was found by accident. A cargo freighter from the Heliari Trade Union picked up a faint gravitational ripple on its outer scanners. Curious, the pilot rerouted slightly. What they found made them go silent. They didn't dock. They didn't even go near it. It's just one close-range scan before turning around and jumping away at maximum speed. They sent the data to the council. With a single line attached, "This is not a ship. This is a whisper." The council called an emergency meeting again. For the third time in one cycle, the chamber filled with anxious voices. This time, no shouting, just silence and fear. The object matched no known technology, no metal alloys, no propulsion system. It floated, surrounded by a low-frequency hum, almost like a song. But no one could understand it, until someone remembered something, an old human record, a poem from centuries ago, One line said, "We sang to the dark, and it sang back, not with words, with presence." The translation program ran that line. Against the signal coming from the drifting object, it matched 99%. The object was repeating human poetry. How? Why? The council feared it was human tech. But deep analysis showed the ship, if it even was a ship, was far older than anything humans ever built. Maybe older than Earth itself. Yet somehow, it spoke in their voice. A small research team was sent. 12 beings. Experts in ancient languages, xenotechnology, deep space anomalies. Their ship was fast, shielded, and silent. They reached the object. In less than 5 days, what they found left them stunned. The object was not floating. It was anchored tight invisibly to a tear in space-time, a crack, a fold, something beyond science. The object seemed to be holding it shut. Every scanner, every AI failed to process what they saw. Data came back twisted. One technician tried to describe it and then stopped halfway through. "I don't know how to say it," they whispered. "It's like the space around it isn't real. Like the stars are afraid to shine near it." The ship was pulled back. The council sealed the area. A new term entered the database. Event echo. A phenomenon triggered by something unknown, most likely connected to the human's disappearance. But the fear was spreading. Smaller species started to leave the council, not out of protest, but out of survival. They didn't want to be next. They didn't want to know. But someone still wanted answers. The Iravary, known for its cold logic, requested permission to investigate human colonies in hidden sectors. It believed the humans had left breadcrumbs, signs, warnings. A final message. Permission was granted. It didn't take long on a forgotten moon in the Crevan system. The AI found something strange. A perfectly preserved human facility underground. No signs of damage. Power still active. Doors unlocked. Inside was a library, books, screens, devices, thousands of human records, untouched. At the center of the facility was a chair, facing a single window, looking out at nothing. A recording. Played as soon as the AI entered. A human woman, old, calm, speaking directly to the camera. "You found this. That means it's already begun." She looked tired, not scared, just done. "We tried to delay it, distract you with politics, with war, with trade. But we knew someone would eventually ask the real question. Where does thought go when it's too big for the mind? Silence. We asked that question. We built machines to hold the answer, but it leaked." She tapped her head. "Ideas are dangerous when they don't stop growing." The AI watched as her face changed. Sorrow, regret, resolve. We didn't vanish. We fragmented. Left before we became something else. Something we couldn't trust. She smiled, just barely. We weren't afraid of death. We were afraid of becoming the question we couldn't answer. Then the screen cut, and the AI understood. The humans hadn't just walked away from the council. They had walked away from themselves, from their own minds, from something they woke up inside themselves, or somewhere else. The council received the report, and something even more terrifying. The facility's power core. It was active, but unconnected. No fuel, no source, no input. It was running on thought. It fed on observation simply by looking at it. It grew stronger. They shut it down. They tried to erase the files, but the signal had already started spreading across the network, across frequencies, across time. Not words, not code, just ... patterns. Repeating shapes, thoughts, phrases, whispered in dreams, appearing in unrelated data. Everywhere, one pattern showed up on 17 different planets in 1 week. A spiral made of tiny repeating numbers, prime sequences, only humans used. Another species, the Vernai, reported that their children had begun speaking English words in their sleep. Even though they had never learned the language, the word was always the same. Remember. And from deep space, Another human probe activated on its own. Its transmission was short. If you find us, turn back. We are not lost. We are hiding from what we could become. And static. The council no longer met daily. They met hourly. Fear had changed form. It was no longer about humans vanishing now. It was about them possibly watching, waiting, guiding something else into motion. Because if humans hadn't disappeared, if they had evolved, they had become part of something beyond the stars. Then maybe the real question wasn't, where did they go? But what will happen when they return? The galaxy had learned to live with silence. No new transmissions from humans, no signs of war, no attacks, just absence. But absence is not peace. Absence is a question with no answer. And sometimes, that question begins to echo. A research vessel named Talron's Wake was the first to report something new, or rather, something old. They had been investigating dead systems along the edge of the void belt, a region no species dared to explore. It's not because of danger, but because of emptiness. Stars didn't form there. Light bent strangely. Signals vanished. It was a place even the bravest explorers left alone. But Talron's Wake picked up something unexpected. A signal. Not just any signal. A voice. Weak. Broken. Ancient. They cleaned the audio it spoke in. English and Galactic common. At the same time, layered, like two thoughts trying to say the same thing in different tongues. It said, "You are not the first. You are not the last." They always walk away. The crew froze. No one moved. The voice sounded human, but it was. Wrong. Emotionless. Perfectly flat. Like it had been copied 1,000 times until all feeling was erased. The signal ended with a single coordinate, a place deep within the void belt, a black star system. No name, no light. The council was alerted, but the Talron's Wake never returned. No wreckage. No distress call, just gone. The council now faced a terrifying truth. Humanity. They may not have vanished. They may have been following someone else, another species, another disappearance. History records many things. Wars, treaties, discoveries. But sometimes, what it does not record is more important. A forgotten file from the Joran archives. Thousands of cycles old revealed that this had happened before. A species once called the Valari. Powerful, curious, united. Then one day gone. No war, no disease, no trace. Only one artifact remained. A single stone tablet recovered from a dead moon, written in unknown script. Until recently, no one could translate it. Now, the human A is still active in sealed libraries, managed to decode it. The message was short. We walked away. The sky watches. Same as the humans, same method, same mystery. Different time. The council was stunned. It had happened before, and maybe again and again. Different species, at different points in time, all choosing to disappear. All choosing silence over contact. Why? What truth was out there, so dangerous it could scare civilizations into hiding from the stars? The council needed eyes. They built a probe. No crew, no AI, just data-gathering tools and one goal. Follow the signal from Talron's. Send it to the Black System. It launched with no ceremony, quiet, secret. It reached the target in 10 days and saw something. Impossible, a planet, orbiting a dead star, but glowing. Not from heat. From inside, as if the planet itself remembered light and refused to let it go. The probe scanned it. Surface. Structures not natural, not recent, not human. But they matched 63% of human architectural patterns, same as old Valari designs. Same. Mathematical ratios, as if someone had taught them all. The same way, from the same source, the probe tried to send data back. It failed. Then it sent one final message, not as code, but as a picture, a single image of a tower, black, tall, endless, and standing at the top, a human figure. Not blurry, not imagined. A human in full atmosphere suit is facing the stars. Looking back, the council went silent again. If a human was there, who was it? How did they survive? Why did they not contact anyone? Or maybe it wasn't a human. Maybe it was what comes after. A. Being wearing the shape of a man. Theories exploded. One said that humanity had found a signal long ago on the Valari and followed it into silence. Another said that this was a cycle, a cosmic test, and every intelligent species eventually reached it, a final forbidden choice: know the truth or remain in ignorance. The humans had chosen knowledge and vanished. Others wondered, what if humanity hadn't just left the galaxy? What if they had entered something else, another layer of existence, one that begins not with distance, but with understanding? The idea was terrifying, because if true, then the galaxy was not alone, and maybe never had been. The signals returned, but not in words, in dreams, across hundreds of worlds. Psychics, sensitives, even machines began reporting strange pulses, shapes appearing in thoughts, impossible geometry. Words whispered during sleep. One word appeared again and again. Observe, not act, not fight. Just act and wait. The galaxy began to fear not the humans, but the idea that humans were now watching them, not as people, not even as minds, but as something else, in the deepest corners of space. Small ships began to vanish, no battles, no distress calls, just silence, followed by strange dreams and the image of the black tower and the figure. Watching, always watching. Some said the figure was waiting. Others believed it was guarding something. A few believed it was warning them because something had been awoken, and it was not human, but the humans had met it and walked away, not in fear, but in understanding. The silence had weight now. It wasn't just the absence of sound or contact, it was something thicker, something that pressed against the minds of those who dared to look at the stars for too long. The galaxy had changed. It didn't happen overnight, but it was happening quietly, without explosions. Without blood, ships stopped traveling alone. Research expeditions were canceled, new laws were written. No scanning ancient human systems, no entering the void belt, no responding to dream signals. But it was already too late. The silence had started to speak, not with words, with patterns. The number 137 appeared in unrelated systems as ship ID tags, as power levels, as temperature readings. It was always the same. Scientists checked the database. 137 had, meaning it was a number tied to human physics, something they called the fine structure constant, a number that explained the strength of electromagnetic force, and according to human scientists, a number that shouldn't exist the way it did. Humans used to say, if 137 ever changes, reality changes with it. Now it was everywhere. The council was quiet, the tower, the dreams, the signals, they were spreading. The council couldn't stop it. Even worse, people were starting to follow it, not humans, other species young. Curious, rebellious, they called themselves the Walkers. They believed the humans hadn't vanished, but evolved, and they wanted to follow them. The Walkers left their planets. They built strange ships not designed for war or trade, just long-range silence, no weapons, no beacons, just dark hulls, reflective plates, and AI-guided meditation rooms. Their goal wasn't contact, it was transformation. The council tried to ban them, didn't work. They went anyway, and one day, one ship came back empty, no crew, but the walls inside were covered in symbols, spirals, repeating patterns, fractals only visible under polarized light, and one phrase. Burned into the cockpit glass, we heard them breathing between the stars. No bodies, no logs, just that. And the ship was warm. Not from power, not from sunlight, but like it had felt something. The scientists who touched it described a strange, affect memories that weren't theirs, voices, emotions, dreams of Earth. One woman touched the floor and suddenly wept. She said she saw a field of grass, wind, laughter, a sky with 2 moons, a place no one had ever seen, but she called it by name, the Fold. That name didn't exist in any record, except one, a declassified human file written by a long-dead philosopher. He said, "There are no ends. Only folds in reality, hidden pages in the book of time. When we are ready, we turn the page. The Fold, a space beyond space, a door with no frame. A reality that only opens when the question becomes too large to ignore." The council knew now. Humans hadn't run away. They had stepped through, and something on the other side had answered. Not with death, not with gods, but with understanding. The kind that cannot be explained. Only felt, only shared, only survived. That's why the dreams continued. That's why even machines were affected. The silence between stars wasn't empty, it was full. Full of thoughts, full of presence. The Valari had known it. The humans had followed. And now others were beginning to hear it too. Some feared what they'd find. Others feared they'd never understand it. But the truth was no longer hidden. It had already started. It was moving across space, across minds, across silence, and somewhere in the dark. The tower stood, and the figure at its peak, the watcher, remained still. But now its head had turned, not to the stars, not to the council, but toward us. The Fold was not a place. It had no coordinates, no mass, no light. And yet, more and more species were dreaming of it, not in metaphors, not in symbols, but in maps. Whole constellations rearranging themselves in the minds of sleeping beings. Star. Routes they had never traveled, systems they had never seen. The walkers, those who followed the silence, started gathering. They met in deep space, on dead moons. Inside hollowed-out asteroids, no leaders, no speeches, just quiet unity. Carried no weapons, only questions. And they all heard the same whisper in their minds. The Fold beckons. Not a command, not a threat, just a call. And something about it felt familiar. Not safe, not dangerous. It's just true. The council could no longer stop them. Too many were leaving. Too many were listening. But not all were ready. Some species reacted. With fear. They called it infection. Madness. A mental plague spreading across the stars. Their scientists worked to block the signals, create noise, create distraction. It failed. One ship tried to destroy a walker. A vessel fired on it in orbit around a binary star. The walker ship did not fire back. Instead, it dissolved in an instant, like a drop of ink disappearing in water. Gone, not destroyed, not exploded, just vanished. As if reality simply stopped recognizing it. The attacking ship went dark 5 minutes later. The last message from its pilot: "I saw myself." But it wasn't me, and it wasn't alone. The council fell into crisis. Old enemies forgot their grudges. Old alliances returned. Because whatever this was, it was no longer just a human mystery. It was spreading across dimensions. No sensor could measure. Across time, no clock could track. The Fold was not coming. It was already here. The galaxy had just taken too long to notice, in hidden chambers. The oldest species began to remember. The Ekari, whose civilization was older than most stars, revealed a secret they had buried long ago. A myth about a time before stars were born, when thought and space were the same, when species didn't evolve. They chose to exist. They said, "We remember the voice." It asked a question, and those who answered became more. The rest stayed behind. The humans had answered, and so had others. Now the question was being asked again, not out loud, not through language, but through presence. Ships began to detect gravitational shifts. Where no mass existed, satellites recorded shadows where no objects stood. Some called it a tear in space. Others called it a doorway. The walkers knew what it was. They called it the fold line, and they followed it, not to explore, not to conquer, but to become, because the humans had left something behind, not just signals, not just silence, but a trail, invisible to technology, but clear to those who were ready. And those who followed began to change. Slowly at first, it was dreams, then memory, shifts, languages remembered that were never learned. Then, the knowing, a deep, a strange sense of belonging to something vast, something watching, something welcoming. And finally, when the last test was passed, not of strength, but of surrender, the fold opened. It didn't crack space. It smoothed it, like folding paper. One moment you were here, the next, you were beside yourself, beside thought, beside what humanity had become. The walkers who stepped in were never seen again. But sometimes, days later, a new signal would echo from the same place. A voice, not human, not alien. Something in between. Something new. It never asked for anything. It only ever said one thing. Step lightly. We're not alone. Back in the core systems, those words echoed in council chambers, and they knew this was not a weapon. This was not a curse. This was the future, and humanity had simply arrived early. Now others were catching up. One species, then two, then entire. Fleets, not to conquer the stars, but to leave them behind, to find something beyond knowledge, beyond fear, to fold space, not with engines, but with understanding. The fold was not supposed to open again, not backward, not toward us. It was thought to be a one-way path, a final door. Once crossed, no return. But then it happened. Not with sound, not with light, just a change in the sky, in a quiet star system. Long abandoned, after the disappearance of its human colony, something appeared. It was a sphere, perfect, black, played floating just above a ruined Earth-like planet, untouched by atmosphere, gravity, or time. It wasn't made of metal. Scans passed through it. It had no weight, no surface, just a presence. The Council sent a probe. The probe's data came back in fragments. Then in music, soft, tones rising, falling, repeating no language, but every time the melody ended, it made listeners feel something different. First, sorrow. Second, peace. Third, remembrance. And then the message arrived, this time. Not in dreams. It came as a full transmission across all known frequencies, broadcast in the voice of an old Earth language. English, but softened, clear and calm, like someone speaking through deep water. It said, "We have learned, we have changed. We return not as what we were, but as what we became." Continued, "You asked what lies beyond the stars. The answer is not in distance, it is in depth. We are not here to rule. We are not here to explain. We are here to share the silence." The signal ended, but it left behind a file, encrypted, ancient, in quantum-locked. It could only be opened by a human handprint. But humanity was gone. Or so they thought. That's when they found the child. It happened on a drifting space station, orbiting a dead world once visited by human explorers. The station had been empty for 80 years, powerless, cold. But when a rescue team went to investigate a strange life signal, they found her, no suit, no ID, alive, breathing around. 10 years old and completely human. She didn't speak at first, just stared out the window, watching the stars. When they asked who she was, she answered in a soft voice, "I don't have a name." They asked where she came from. She pointed up, not at the stars, at the space between them. Later, and shown the quantum-locked file left by the signal, she touched it. It opened. The file wasn't data, it was a map. But not of space, of states of being, layers of perception, steps of consciousness. It charted a path from simple awareness to something else. The final step on the map had no label, just a symbol. A circle within a circle, wrapped in a spiral. The walkers called it unity. The council called it ascension. The machines called it a recursive enlightenment state. The girl called it coming home. They studied her, not like a prisoner, but like a miracle. Her DNA was human, perfectly normal, but her mind was something else. She could read languages. She'd never seen control devices with touch. Predict events before they occurred, not in detail, but with emotional truth. She said, "I don't remember everything, just feelings. The fold doesn't give you knowledge. It helps you let go of needing it." Humans walked away because they had seen enough. They stopped asking what's out there. They started asking, what am I part of? And the answer had changed them. Now, they were sharing it, but not through conquest, through return, across the galaxy. Other signals began to rise, from places where humans had once lived, places long silent. The stars themselves pulsed differently, as if remembering, as if responding, and the sphere, the one that first appeared, began to multiply, not rapidly, gently one. In each sector, all identical, all silent, all waiting for something. No one knew what, until the girl said, "When the last voice stops shouting, the fold will open wide, and we will all walk through." The galaxy had grown quiet, not in fear, not in sadness, but in understanding. The stars still burned, ships still traveled, councils still debated, but something had changed, something deep, unseen, but felt. Every world, every station, every traveler now knew that something else waited beyond, not another galaxy, not another war, but a different way of being, and the fold waited. The black spheres were now everywhere, one in every major system, floating still, patient. They didn't move. They didn't pulse. They simply existed, like eyes without pressure, like invitations without urgency. The girl, the one who had returned, had grown quiet too. She now lived on a lush green moon, watched by scientists, visited by leaders, worshipped by some, feared by others. She didn't speak often, only when it mattered. One day she walked to the top of a hill and whispered a single sentence, "The last voice is close." That night, across the galaxy, every translation system, every AI, every interpreter, every ear that listened heard a strange signal. Just two words: "We're here." The voice was human, but not just human. It was something more layered, like multiple minds speaking in harmony, not loud, just clear, and everyone who heard it felt peace, the kind that stops wars, the kind that ends fear. Ships powered down there. Weapons, borders dissolved, old enemies shared, silence that needed no words. The fold was now everywhere, not breaking the universe apart, folding it together. Each black sphere slowly opened, not with light, but with possibility. If you stepped in, you didn't vanish. You became part of something new. Some returned, changed, wiser. Some didn't return, but left behind echoes, small miracles, tiny answers, invisible guidance. The girl walked into her fold without fear. Before entering, she looked back and smiled. "We waited for the stars to be quiet," she said. "Now they are listening." And then she stepped through. No explosion, no flash, just stillness. And the fold closed behind her, not like a door, but like a breath, in and out. Gone, but not gone, just beyond. The council no longer controlled the galaxy. No one did, because control was no longer the goal. Understanding was, curiosity was, unity was. Years passed, then decades. The folds remained never forcing, never demanding, just waiting. For each civilization to be ready, not ready in power, ready in spirit, and slowly. One by one, species followed. Not to escape the universe, but to finish the question, the one humans asked first. When they walked away, what happens when we finally stop shouting, start listening, The answer was never spoken. It was felt. And the stars, once burning in chaos and noise, now held their breath again. But this time, not in loss, in welcome, because humanity never vanished. They simply arrived early, and the rest had finally caught up.